Counter steering on a bike isn't just a riding technique, it's a life-saving technique. Mastering counter steering and knowing how the bike responds to this type of technique helps us prevent situations that can be particularly risky while riding a bike like this one. But in reality, this type of technique applies to all bikes, even for 125s, even for scooters, but also for bicycles and for electric scooters, because it's not a technique tied to riding motorcycles, but it's a physical principle to know, because it can be really very useful. In this video, I'll explain counter steering in 3 phases. A basic one, just to understand what we're talking about, the other intermediate, and then an advanced one to actually see it in action. First of all, what exactly is meant by counter steering? Well, it's actually pretty easy to understand. Simply put, if we have a right turn, steering would mean this. And if the turn were to the left, steering would mean this, right? No, wrong. Why? Because motorcycles to turn must lean, they are not cars. In a car, we turn the steering wheel to the right to go right, or we turn it to the left to go left. Motorcycles instead, as you can easily notice, but we all know it, have tires that are curved, rounded, and this implies that to turn they have the need to lean. And counter steering is one of those techniques that helps us reach the optimal lean angle for the turn we're going to make. It works at any speed, not over 50 or over 100 kilometers per hour, even at 5 kilometers per hour. Counter steering works just fine. So we've seen steering, which on a bike actually doesn't happen because then counter steering takes over. But we'll get to that now. What does counter steering mean instead? It means that if we have a right turn, we're going to rotate at least in an initial phase, the steering, to the left. This creates an effect of unbalancing the bike because we want to go right, but in reality we turn left. So the bike will initially unbalance to the left, but then since we want to go that way, it will tend to fall instead to the other side. I'll show you this effect well already with the first demonstration of counter steering with a front view and slow motion. Look at what the front wheel does. I'll try to go right, counter steering to the left. The wheel will go first towards the left and then the bike will fall towards the right. Well, now you might ask yourself what all this is for, right? It's for, I already told you, what? To make the bike turn. And yes, because I already told you before, the bike to turn isn't a car, it must lean. And the only way to lean a bike is counter steering. Whatever the super street riders say who say no, but I throw myself out with my butt, with my shoulders, with my knee on the ground, the bike turns. No, trust me, the bike doesn't turn because of that, it turns. Because you, by doing all of these things, often unconsciously, are actually counter steering. This is because, for example, when a left turn is coming up, without even realizing it, many people will move slightly towards the left and they end up putting more weight there. The left side of the handlebar counter steers and the bike leans in. So many counter steer without knowing it. In fact, all of us have counter steered without knowing it, even back when we were riding a bicycle. That is how we learned counter steering, but we just didn't realize it. So now we know what counter steering is and why it's useful, to set a line or to tighten a turn. But it can be used for many other things. To correct, for example, a wrong line through a corner. If we're going wide, we press on the side of the handlebar where we want the bike to lean to tighten the turn more. And that effect will result in a greater lean angle for the bike and thus the ability to tighten the turn better. Another example is if we happen to find a rock or a pothole right in front of us. There too, a quick counter steer and the bike tips over rapidly and avoids the problem. And another example situation where counter steering is fundamental is in tighter maneuvers. Okay, but now I'd say it's time to see counter steering in action, so I'll show you, again in 3 levels. What does it mean to counter steer? In the first test, just one finger will be enough to make the bike lean and therefore turn. In the second experiment, we'll instead evaluate how much to push on one side of the handlebar and what that entails in terms of the bike's steering. And as a third phase, after evaluating how much to press, you'll also need to stop applying this pressure at some point. Let's see it all in 3 different phases, starting with the first one. As a first exercise to get familiar with counter steering, to understand what it is and how the bike reacts to our inputs, I suggest you find a road like this with little traffic and reach 50, 60, 70 kilometers per hour at most. After that, let go of the grips for a second and press with one finger on one of the 2 sides of the handlebar. On one of the 2 grips, look, with just one finger, the bike already starts to lean and turn. And this, as I was saying earlier, is really all we actually need in order to take a corner on a motorcycle. If you look here too, you can see just one finger is enough. And just like that, we've made the turn. It was truly enough to simply press the handlebar gently in this direction, and that was all it took. Obviously, if we were stationary, if I press here, the handlebar turns to the right, and the wheel points to the right. So there's nothing magical to do to activate counter steering other than simply this. Right turn with just one finger, and the bike turns. You see, by the way, you then have to catch it again, because once the direction is set, the bike maintains it. One more test, another turn, I gently touch the right side with only one finger. See, it stays there, then slowly straightens up, but basically it stays there. You can do this exercise to help you get more comfortable with the technique of counter steering and to better understand how your bike responds when you use it. Practicing counter steering is especially important for riders at the intermediate level because it helps you develop more control and confidence when handling your motorcycle. By repeating this exercise, you'll become more familiar with how your bike reacts to your inputs, making you a safer and more skilled rider overall. Now that we've understood what counter steering is and how the bike responds to our inputs, it's time to understand how much is needed. Pressing on the handlebar, because here, as I told you, speed doesn't matter much because counter steering works the same way regardless of speed. What matters is the force with which we press on the handlebar grip. So, if I press just a little, the bike turns a little. If I press a lot, you see it turns much more. You need to understand how much to push on the bars, and we can only learn this through experience, but above all, only by relating the level of pressure to apply to the grip based on the turn we want to make. See, if I press lightly, even if I go faster, the bike won't turn, I have to press hard. To make the bike turn in a tighter corner, I have to apply a slightly stronger pressure. Wide turn, hey, look at this. Too much, because in fact I was closing it too much. See, this is an excessive amount of pressure. If you start doing this, where you get here, then, oops, I have to straighten up. Then again, no, oops, I have to straighten up. It's not good, you're overdoing it at that point. With counter steering, however, the right pressure is this. Then you should generally stay in the center of the lane even when counter steering. Left turn. Same thing, example of a poorly made turn, I'm overdoing the counter steering. No, I'm in the middle, see? It's not good. Example of a well-made turn with the right counter steering. I'm here, counter steer. And away. Again. I accelerate. Counter steer. Turn. To the right, pressure. Greater because it was tighter. And here, if I had to ride with one hand, how would I do it now? Here too. There's a trick. Let's see who among you got it. Also because it's the third point of the counter steering explanation. Write it in the comments and we'll talk about it in a minute. Obviously the little game of pressing with one hand or even with a finger, you do it to practice, to gain confidence. But then, when riding, both hands on the handlebars, and at this point you just need to do this. Push even harder, see? Look at how the bike turns. This becomes a maneuver. Evasive, let's say, to get out of dangerous situations, truly fundamental to master. See, for example, here there's some gravel, I'm going over it, immediately, whoops, away. If there were a pothole, same thing, hop away, another pothole, hop, 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 like this, always like this, hop, hop, hop. This is useful. Mastering these maneuvers, to avoid all the problems that could appear on the road. It makes no sense to do what I'm doing now, but you need to have this degree of control on the road. Because with the 1,000 hazards there can be, dead animals, pieces of cars that had an accident the day before, oil slicks, potholes, all this must be avoided. And if you start applying track positions on the road, rest assured that you'll hit these hazards one after another and get hurt. In this case too, only and exclusively counter steering helps you, your greatest friend in road riding. Third point of the counter steering explanation. Someone told me, but it's not possible, counter steering doesn't work by you. Pressing on the left side, turning to the right, and the bike goes left and vice versa. To turn left, you have to pull to the right. And actually, look, it works. I mean, if I want to go left and I pull right, well, it works. And conversely, if I pull left, whoop, the bike goes right. So what have I told you so far? Nonsense. Well, no, you just need to think about one thing. Pushing on the left side or pulling on the right side of the handlebar is actually really exactly the same thing. Why is that? Well guys, it's simply just the way it is. There's only one handlebar, so whenever you apply some pressure or pull, in a sense, if I press left, for example, the bike leans over, falls to the left and turns left. If I pull right, you see the handlebar still goes right and then it turns left. So it doesn't matter if I push left or pull right, or if I push right and pull left, the handlebar will always go in the same direction. And here we are back at base. I'm so happy to have finally been able to bring you this video on counter steering, as it's a topic I've wanted to cover for a long time. And I already teased it in the video about riding position, which by the way I'll link in the cards, and many of you were curious and specifically asked for this video. Counter steering is a fundamental technique to understand first. It's harder to grasp than to actually do, because in reality we all already do it without realizing it, but the difference is made by practicing it consciously rather than just whenever it happens. This makes all the difference, because being able to master this technique really gets us out of a lot of trouble that we would otherwise face with more fear or panic in certain situations, because we wouldn't have the right technique to deal with that kind of problem. That said, guys, that's all for today's video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, because many more videos on riding technique are coming, especially since you asked for them. And that's all for today. A big greeting from Andrea, and I'll see you in the next video.